So, I've spoken about the Chrollo vs Zoldycks fight a bunch of times by now, to the point that I'm sure there's a few of you that groan every time I bring it up, thinking to yourselves, there goes the overstinker rambling about specialization and Chrollo's 100% affinity for enhancement again. When will he give it a rest? Well, first of all, never, and second, I am not here to talk about that this time around, though the topic is slightly adjacent to it, I guess. See, apart from Chrollo's immense durability and implied high affinity for and proficiency in enhancement, there's also one more aspect of that fight that would always remain embedded in my brain every time I'd rewatch it. It's something far more obvious than Chrollo's aforementioned high enhancement affinity, and is something that I'm sure had to stick out to the majority of you the first time you watched the fight, as well as being kind of inexplicable and maybe even nonsensical, but was nonetheless something you may have accepted over the years due to the nonchalance with which it was handled. I am, of course, talking about the fight's conclusion. I can't be the only one who was left largely confused as to how both Zeno and Chrollo were left, at most, lightly injured following Silva's purple plasma surprise. It was an attack supposedly meant to kill, and yet amounted to nothing more than a flashy dud. Is Silva super overrated and actually a bum? Is he a poser of a family head and entirely unworthy of the title? Well, let's take a deep dive into that, shall we? Jokes aside, we know that Silva is among the most powerful Nen users seen in the series. Hisoka rated Illumi at a 95 out of 100 points, and I find it difficult to imagine that Silva would be rated any less than that. Hell, I find it difficult to imagine that he wouldn't be ranked higher. Furthermore, the blast he let loose was powerful enough to shake the whole damn skyscraper of a building, which is a testament to its destructive potential. Such a degree of raw power output isn't something just anyone could accomplish. I mean, just recall the destructive power of Razor's volleyball-sized aura ball, and then compare it to the two Silva was charging up. Now, I know it's not all about size, since Razor's ball was probably more compressed, holding more aura in a smaller volume. But since both Razor and Silva are emitters of at least comparable skill levels and aura output, I think comparing the size of their, balls can give us at least some indication to the potential difference in their respective power outputs and raw destructive potential. Even if one of Silva's balls is equivalent to one of Razor's, this means there's no way in hell that Chrollo and Zeno both simply tanked and brushed off Silva's Hatsu like it was nothing more than a moderate inconvenience at best. So, Silva's not a fraud. That's good. Raw power definitely isn't the problem here. What the hell happened then? Before they went in for the kill, Zeno explicitly instructed Silva to kill Chrollo even if it meant killing him as well, and Silva agreed, deeming Chrollo an opponent not to be taken lightly, having already faced him in the past. Then, when Zeno found an opening and pinned Chrollo down, forcing him on the defensive with a rapid flurry of punches, high on the thrill of the fight and ready to give it his all to fulfill the contract they accepted from the 10 Dons, his son, the current head of the Zoldyck family, the father of Killua and Illumi, and one of the most infamous Nen combatants in the world, either genuinely misses or holds back. Him accidentally missing is not something I can get behind, since A, we see the attack closing in on Chrollo. I mean, just look at this expression and tell me that's not a man who's about to have a pair of giant purple balls imminently splattered across his face. And B, Chrollo was almost literally a sitting duck, and this isn't a distance I can ever see Silva missing from. The only viable explanation that leaves us with is that Silva either purposefully held back or purposefully missed. In truth, that's the only explanation that has ever made sense to me. Both Zeno and Silva knew about the fact that Chrollo had contracted Illumi, Kaluto, and Maha to kill the 10 Dons, the very clients that had hired the two of them, and as such knew that one of their contracts would be made null and void depending on which Zoldyck team succeeded first. Did Silva then hesitate in potentially killing his own father over a contract that could be nullified at any moment? While the likeliest, the problem with this interpretation is that neither the manga nor the 2011 anime give us any indication that this could be the case. As in, the Zoldycks are consummate professionals. They have the utmost respect for their profession and take great familial pride in honoring their contracts. facts. Zeno even outright said to Chrollo that it absolutely didn't matter to either him or Silva that Illumi was sent on a parallel contract. To go with this, at no point does Zeno scold Silva for not living up to his title as the head of the family, and showing weakness by not giving it his all, or perhaps smugly rubbing in the fact that Silva's obviously much fonder of his old man than he lets on, to the point that he'd even compromise a contract's completion for his sake. According to Killua, Silva and Zeno have a give-and-take relationship, meaning that Silva jeopardizing the contract due to what the Zoldycks would deem unprofessional sentimentality should have prompted some kind of response from the old veteran, I believe. As already said, Zeno is a consummate professional after all, and would see Silva failing to give it his all in that attack as a disappointing lack of professionalism and determination on his part, especially considering Silva's status as the current family head. Keep in mind, this is a household where Killua was praised for mauling his mother's face. They are anything if not for the most part utterly dysfunctional. Chrollo also never mentioned that anything particularly odd occurred in that final attack, while sprawled out on the floor lamenting the fact that he couldn't steal either of their abilities. I'm certain that Silva showcasing a weakness in not wanting to sacrifice his dad in order to finish Chrollo off would be something deserving of at least a passing thought, akin to how Chrollo took a mental note of Kurapika's weakness in him not being prepared to sacrifice his friends for the sake of his revenge. As such, while Silva purposefully holding back or missing is the likeliest and most sensical explanation, it falls entirely in the realm of personal headcanon, since there's nothing to explicitly point to it. Well, that's where the 1999 anime adaptation comes in to save the day. In it, just as Silva is charging up his baleful balls of obliteration, you can actually hear his phone ringing. Here, I'll let the clip play with sound.
No, Silva! Kill him!
This, I have to imagine, is the pre-established signal that the other Zoldyck team succeeded in their mission, and that the team being signaled should abandon theirs, since with their clients dead, the contract would at that point be invalidated. As such, this would perfectly account for A, why neither Chrollo nor Zeno suffered any real damage, and B, why no one mentioned something being off about Silva's attack, since they all would have heard the ringing. I genuinely wish the 2011 adaptation had chosen to take a page from the 1999 version and make the phone call into a kind of, soft canon, let's say. As far as I'm concerned, the mid-ability phone call is official overthinker canon, for whatever that's worth. And that's that. Honestly, I'm not really sure why I waited so long to make this video. It's something I've always wanted to talk about, but never really got around to. So, do you guys agree with my sentiment that the fight's conclusion needed explaining in the first place, or was I actually the only one needlessly fixated on this? I find that really difficult to believe though, since apparently even the 1999 animation staff felt like adding their own personal touch to make it a bit more sensical. As always, I'd very much like to thank the thinkers and overthinkers for going the extra mile in supporting the channel, especially during my little hiatus break. As usual, thank you very much for watching, your feedback is always appreciated, subscribe if you like more content like this, and I'll see you in the next one.